We are living in a computer-programmed reality, and the only clue we have to it is when some variable is changed and some alteration in our reality occurs. We would have the overwhelming impression that we were reliving the present, déjà vu, perhaps in precisely the same way, hearing the same words, saying the same words. I submit that these impressions are valid and significant, and I will even say this: such an impression is a clue that at some past time point, a variable was changed, reprogrammed as it were, and that because of this, an alternative world branched off.
Welcome to yet another edition of Free Association Radio. Tonight and Sunday, of course, we enter into the 11th house, where we look at the stars, the planets, and the omens importance from the sky above and within. I am your host, Robert Phoenix, broadcasting to you live from Austin, Texas, where it is 10:01 p.m. How is everybody? Well, we have seemed to survive the Republican National Convention. Let me open up the chat room here. I got to do that. Let me get the keys and stick them in the lock there. If I had a sound effect, I'd play it. Okay, come on in. The chat room is open. Hey, what's happening? Coming in. There's plenty of room. Plenty of room, boys and girls. It's Sunday night. It is hot across America, hot across planet Earth, and it's only going to get hotter. We are in the dog days of summer, and I bet a lot of you don't know what the dog days of summer actually represents. Some of you might. I mean, look, the people that listen to my show are pretty turned on. So I'm going to venture forth that a lot of you do know what the dog days of summer are about. But just in case you don't, I'm going to bust it out, and I'll share that a little bit later. What a week it was. Donald Trump managed to get to the finish line. Boy, howdy. I'm wearing a cowboy hat. Maybe say howdy. Boy, howdy. What a run for Trump. You know, now there's myriads of levels of cynicism and plenty enough to go around. I will grant you that. On Friday's show, I even read a bit of a disturbing post about Trump's past, which might actually come up and do some damage, or at the very least, handcuff him to the point where if he wants to do something, he may not be able to do it. A lot of people think he's just another puppet for the puppet masters. There's a guy that's been kicking around for the last 30 years. His name is David John Oates. And I first heard him back in the 90s when he was on Art Bell. And David John Oates is an interesting story. He had a speech impediment. So what he did is he would talk into a tape recorder, over and over and over again. And he would listen to his voice and his enunciation and his pronunciation and his articulation, all those Asians, and he would play it back. And when he started to play back some of the recordings, he would listen to them backwards. And when he did this, he was actually able to determine that there was a hidden level of speech that when it was played in reversal mode would reveal itself, that you could actually hear words and phrases. And when those words and phrases were extrapolated, there would be some kind of revelation of a subconscious or unconscious state. So what he had thought he'd stumbled upon, and he might have, is a type of lie detector by playing reverse speech. And I've heard these reverse speeches over the years, and his technology has gotten a lot better. It's kind of like when Obama was saying, yes, we can, yes, we can, yes, we can. And the reverse speech on that was, hail Satan, hail Satan, hail Satan. Well, David John Oates was the forerunner of that kind of technology and kind of breakthrough. So he's been doing a lot of reverse speeches on Trump. And it seems that Trump has been incredibly consistent with his reverse speech, meaning that he's not lying. When he says something, he says something. Maybe I should play a few of these. Do you guys want to hear them? I mean, I know this is about astrology, but Trump is an Gemini with Uranus conjunct his sun and True Note conjunct both of them. Let's see if I can find it here. It's not too hard. Let's see if I can go in. Let me go to YouTube. Hold on. I should have teed this up a little earlier. Hold on a second. Let's go here. The one thing about David John Oates is that he does not seem like somebody who has a particular axe to grind or he's got any skin in the game, as it were. So let's do this. David John Oates, reverse speech. Okay, so I'm gonna play this just so you guys can get a sense of it, and I'm gonna try to line my mic up here so everybody hears it. These are the reverse speeches that he came up with for Trump. Let me see. That was in 2015. David John Oates has been on Clyde Lewis. Let me just go to his page. Let me see what he's got.
Tap the power of your unconscious mind with the phenomenon of reverse speech.
Whoops. Okay. Okay, this is 4 minutes long. 4 minutes long. I'm going to play this for you. And let's get into this for just a second. This is David John Oates and Trump from the RNC and some reverse speeches. Here we go.
The Democrats, on the other hand, received 20% fewer votes than they got 4 years ago. Not so good, not so good. Dude was stunned. Dude was stunned. Dude was stunned.
Dude was stunned.
Our convention occurs at a moment of crisis for our nation. The attacks on our police and the terrorism of our cities threaten our very way of life. Seal the funnel. Seal the funnel. Seal the funnel.
Now, David John Oates says that this is consistent with his position to stop the flow of immigrants, to seal the funnel. So what we're seeing here is somebody who's saying something, reverse speeching it, and there is congruity. Let's play another one.
Our trade deficit in goods reached nearly, think of this, our trade deficit is $800 billion. Yet, think of that.
Now, David John Oates says, and you can hear this, it says they'll lynch you. And he says maybe predicting his future, so perhaps Trump is prophesying his own demise. Let's play another one.
In Libya, our consulate, the symbol of American prestige around the globe, was brought down in flames. Oh, miss it. Oh, miss it. Oh, miss it.
So here, David John Oates is saying it's a congruent reversal, and Trump is saying that he misses the consulate. Oh, miss it. Oh, miss it. Oh, miss it. Let's play another one.
Especially when others who have done far less have paid so dearly. Hillary was dead. Hillary was dead. Hillary was dead.
Isn't that interesting? So from the catacombs of Trump's subconscious, playing that backwards, he's saying Hillary was deaf. Hillary was deaf. So essentially, David John Oates is saying that she is not listening or wasn't listening. Let's do another one.
The irresponsible rhetoric of our president, who has used the pulpit of the presidency to divide us by race and color.
So here he's saying the forfeit's easier, and Oates is also confirming this is congruent, and it says it's easier for Obama to not deal with it. The forfeit is easier. Let's listen to another one.
Where was the sanctuary for all of the other Americans who have been so brutally murdered and who have suffered so horribly? Your fuss. Your fuss. Your fuss.
So if you could dissect that, the reverse speech on this one says Barack was your fuss. Now, I don't agree with Trump on his version of the shootings, but again, clearly there's something going on at the subconscious level where he's able to connect what's happening out there, the events, the strife and the division, and aligning it on a subconscious level with Obama. There's just a couple more. Here we go.
It is time to show the whole world that America is back. Our war horse. Our war horse. Our war horse.
So the reverse speech on this one, Trump is saying, our war hard. W-A-R, our war hard, O-S-H-I-T. Shit, right? He realizes it will be a tough fight. Oates is interpreting from that reversal. I think there's just a couple more.
I mean, they said Trump doesn't have a chance of being here tonight. Not a chance. The same people. Oh, we love defeating those people, don't we? Don't we love defeating them?
So here, the message is send relief with value. This is what Trump is saying at a subconscious level. And Oates says he will offer value and relief to America. I think there's one more left.
And we will make America great again. God bless you. you, and good night. I love you. We shall start. We shall start. We shall start.
Now, here Trump is saying we sell God. And Oates says it's a congruent reversal. I don't know. I'm a little on the fence with this one, with the we sell God. That's a little, shady, a little out of phase. So I just wanted to play those for you so you could get a sense as to what I was talking about. Now, Trump, obviously, with Sun in Gemini, Uranus in Gemini. Remember, Uranus works backwards in a lot of ways. Uranus will bring you an event, and it can be catalytic, cataclysmic, and then you have to deal with it. Uranus is not a retrograde planet, but it can often operate in a retrograde kind of way because it brings chaos. When we think of Mercury retrograde, we think of chaos. It brings chaos into our lives. Right? It's going backwards. And so to some extent, Mercury is imitating Uranus with a Mercury retrograde. Now, Uranus only goes backwards, only appears to go backwards. It does go backwards in a retrograde motion. But the action of Uranus only appears to go backwards when it's doing some kind of damage or chaos or upsetting one's life. And it feels like you're going backwards. But it's only because there's a need to have a reset. And Uranus will bring the energy, the reset. So it does have a slightly, at times, retrograde kind of feel if it needs to come in and crack the whip and be the thunderclap. So with the Sun conjunct Uranus, conjunct True Node, in his chart, reverse speech was, I think, at least fairly interesting and worth checking out. So we had the Republican National Convention, and Trump made it all the way through. And like I said, he's going to have some issues astrologically in the early part of next year when Saturn hits his natal moon and then also hits his south node in Sagittarius in his fourth house, which is the house of home and women and all that stuff. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out with him. Now, as the Republicans and their three-ring circus wind down, the Democrats are just starting to get wound up. And boy, do they have some issues on their hands. Big issues. Big time issues. Talk about a Uranus moment. WikiLeaks just dumped all these emails that have outlined how the Democratic Party decided that they were going to go after Bernie Sanders. That they were going to derail him at any cost. I mean, this stuff is mind-blowing. Have we ever had an election cycle where something like this, something just charged with nitroglycerin, right? This is dynamite. This is TNT. And it's exploding just before the convention happens. Boy, if the Sanders people and Sanders supporters weren't angry enough already, they're going to be smoking by the time they get to Philadelphia, where, by the way, it's just going to be hot as hell this week. Hot. We are in the dog days of summer, and I'm going to talk about that, I promise. It is going to be so hot. We're going down to Laredo to play baseball on Wednesday. It's going to be 106 degrees in Laredo for a week. 106 in a border town. It's going to be intense. So I bought myself a cowboy hat because I'm going to Laredo. I need a cowboy hat. I got a good deal on it. What can I say? You know, it reminds me of the time when I was down in the Yucatan when I went to go to the ruins of Chichen Itza. And I took a bus from Merida down into, I flew into Merida. And then I took a bus from Merida to Chichen Itza. But I spent one night in Merida when I went in, And one night when I went out, and I was walking around Merida, just hanging out, just seeing what was going on in the town. And I was 32 at the time. And I run into this guy kind of on the outskirts of town a little bit. And he starts talking to me. He's kind of an older guy. He says, Senor, what are you doing here? Senor, what are you doing here? And I said, I'm going to Chichen Itza. Oh, Chichen Itza. Oh, yes, very beautiful place, senor. Yes, lots of ruins and relics in history. You know, it's very hot there. Extremely hot. You know, my friend, you will need a hat. You will need a hat there in Chichen Itza. And I said, really? So, yes, you will need a hat. And you just happen to know a man in town. He's the best hat maker in Merida, and I can take you to him right now and get you a very fine hat. A very fine hat. So I let this guy take me to the hat maker. And I got a hat from the guy. You know what? I'm glad I did, because it was really hot there. And I had a nice hat. It was a cool hat. What was really funny was I told him, I said, yeah, I really want to go to Tulum. And you know, Tulum is right there near Chichen Itza. It's on the Caribbean side of Mexico, and the Caribbean coast of Mexico. And I said, yeah, I'd really like to go to Tulum. And he says, oh, Tulum is so beautiful. You go to Tulum and you take a pussy with you. I just thought that was really funny. I'm like, wow, man, this guy's like, you know, he's on it. But I just thought this whole idea of just taking a pussy with me to Tulum was very funny. It's like, I'm just going to throw it in my suitcase. I'll just go find a pussy in town somewhere. I'll throw it in my suitcase, and I'll just take it to Tulum with me. There's no face, no torso, no heart, no legs. Just that. Anyway, so I got this hat, and I'm going to Laredo, where it's going to be 106. Okay, so you want to know about the dog days of summer? I'm going to tell you about the dog days of summer right now. See, I'm not going to be one of these hosts where I'm going to hold you, because there's a thing called the internet, and you can look it up if you wanted to. All right, so here we go. The expression, I'm reading from the internet, from Wikipedia. I'm going to get back to the DNC, by the way. I'm going to get back there. Let's say about the dog days, because it's so hot. The expression dog days refers to the hot, sultry days of summer, originally in areas around the Mediterranean Sea, and as the expression fits to other areas, especially in the Northern Hemisphere. The coincidence of very warm temperature in the early civilizations of North Africa and the Near East with the rising at sunrise, the heliacal rising of Orion's dog, the dog star Sirius, led to the association of this phrase with these conditions, an association that traces to the Egyptians and appears in the ancient written poetic and other records of the Greeks, Hesiod, Aratus, and Homer, in the Iliad and the later Romans. So let me go one step further. The dog days are the hottest, most uncomfortable part of the northern summer. The American Weather and Farming Annual, the Old Farmer's Almanac, explains that the phrase dog days conjures up the hottest and most sultry days of summer, coinciding with the heliacal rising of Sirius, the dog star, in the constellation Canis Major, hence the word dog days. Well, the correlation between the hottest and most humid weather of the year with this specific calendar period has not survived the broadening of weather understanding and communications to global. The correlation of the rising of Sirius with extreme heat has been sufficient in enough climes in the Northern Hemisphere such that the association of dog days with hot, sultry weather was made for all time. The dog days are when Sirius rises in the morning sky. It is rising in the east, right? So Sirius, our binary partner, the dog days. Now here's an interesting series of lines here from Hesiod and Aratus and Homer. And this is written by Hesiod, And this is Hesiod and Aratus together refer in their writings to the heat of late summer that the Greeks believed was actually brought on by the appearance of Sirius. So the Greeks actually thought that because Sirius, our binary buddy, was rising in the sky, it was adding to the heat. How about that? So it is the greater dog star constellation, Sirius. This is what they wrote. The Greeks, this is J. Holberg. This is what Holberg writes. The Greeks possess an elaborate lore associated with Sirius. Its first appearance in the morning skies during the final days of July and early August indicated the arrival of the sweltering heat of late summer, and it was associated with heat, fire, and even fevers. What do we have going on right now in the west coast of the United States? We got fires, big time, happening in Big Sur. We've got some fires happening in Texas as well. So the heat is on. Sirius is rising. We're in the dog days of summer. Sirius is a really important star when it comes to Freemasonry. It's a really, really important star. It is like the bullseye. It is the home. It is the point of heaven in Freemasonry. Let's read what Homer has to say about Sirius. This is my best poetic voice here. Here we go. Sirius rises late in the dark liquid sky. On summer nights, star of stars, Orion's dog, they call it brightest of all, but an evil portent bringing heat and fevers to suffering humanity. And there's another version of that. Let me try this here. Like to the star that cometh forth at harvest time, and brightly do his rays shine amid the host of stars in the darkness of night. The star that men call by name the dog of Orion, brightest of all is he, yet withal is he a sign of evil, and bringeth much fever upon wretched mortals. So the span of the dog days runs from the 14th of July, Dies Canicularis Insebruntur, to the 5th of September, Dies Canicularis Finiuntur, which means the finish of the dog days. The Old Farmer's Almanac lists the traditional period of the dog days as the 40 days beginning July 3rd and ending August 11th. Aha! Here's an interesting little notice, right? When is the United States of America formed? What day? July 4th. How about that? So Sirius rises in the sky, in the eastern horizon on July 4th, the start of the dog days. And remember, Sirius is the point of heaven for the Freemasonic Lodge, right? So they waited, man. They waited till Sirius rose on the 4th of July and to the 16th of August. So we are in the dog days, boys and girls, and Debbie Wasserman Schultz is in the doghouse. Oh my God, we've never seen anything like this before. This is crazy to have these emails dumped. And you know who did these emails? It was the Russians. The Russians in conjunction with Assange, who still hold up in that house in London. Is it somebody from South America? Is it Argentina or Ecuador? He's been hiding out there for a long time. He's in an asylum. Anyway, Christopher Gusefer, the Romanian hacker, has all these emails. And the Russians got a hold of them. And they basically show how absolutely avaricious and predatory the Democratic Party is. Look, they're both predatory. They're both predatory. When you get into politics, it is so dirty, so slimy, so mean, so pathological, right? Sociopathological. And yet, when we get something like these emails that come out and show behind the scenes just how hard the Democratic Party was trying to derail Bernie Sanders. And Debbie Wasserman Schultz is right at the center of it. Robert Reich, who is Professor Emeritus teaching economics at UC Berkeley, used to be part of the Clinton administration. I was at a cafe with Robert Reich. I wasn't with him. I wasn't hanging out with him. He was just there. He came up. I think he came up to my solar plexus. That's how small he is. But the man is a giant when it comes to economics. Anyway, he got on his bully pulpit and essentially said that Wasserman Schultz needed to step down. I mean, he was a very high-ranking member of Clinton's cabinet back in the day. And he got out and he managed to stay pretty clean. And he called for a resignation. After the convention is over, Wasserman Schultz will step down. The vice chair has already stepped down. This is scandalous. Absolutely scandalous. I mean, this has got to be one of the worst days in Debbie Wasserman Schultz's life. These last few, talk about dog days. She's a Libra, by the way. She's born in October. Let's check out her chart. She's not an appealing-looking person either. She looks like the daughter of a gargoyle. She's from Florida. She represents the 23rd district. She's 49 years old. She was born in 1966. So she's a fire horse. And she is an early Libra, September 27th. Let's just check out her solar attributes here. We're going to go into the ephemeris. We're going to go back to September 27th, 1966. I wish I had a sound effect for like a time machine. Wouldn't that be cool? Here we go. September 27th, 1966. The day that little Debbie came into this world. Little did she know, or her parents know, that somewhere in the future, say right around 2016, little Debbie would suffer a great fall from grace. Let's see what we have here. September 27th. What's happening with that chart? Aha! Moon in Pisces. It'd be interesting to see where that moon is. If it is conjunct Neptune, hello. 3 degrees Libra, Sun. She'll bounce back. Jupiter's coming into Libra in September. She'll bounce back. Politicians always do. Look, she's got Mercury in Libra. And let's see, what else? Venus in Virgo. It's a tough place for Venus, by the way. Mars in Leo, the holier than thou Mars trip with Mars in Leo. What else do we have? Jupiter in Cancer, 29 degrees, anaretic degree. Saturn in Pisces. So she's got transiting node in Pisces on her Saturn. That's problematic for her. What else? Uranus at 20 Virgo. So Jupiter is conjunct her Uranus. These are details. Virgo is all about details. And Jupiter conjunct Uranus is expanding the details. Expanding the details. She's got Neptune in Scorpio, 20 degrees. Mars has been right on that Neptune. It's about 4 degrees off right now. We're in first degrees of Leo. So we had Sun. All this came out in the past few days. And it's right around Sun at 29, Cancer on her Jupiter. What else do we have? Pluto, 18, Virgo. So we know we have, the moon. We've had the moon in Pisces. Horse, transiting Pisces moon. She's going through her Chiron return as well. How about that? 66. Yep, Chiron return. There it is. And she has Black Moon Lilith in Chiron. I'm sorry, it's not Chiron. Black Moon Lilith in Pisces. So it's a wide conjunction with Black Moon Lilith. What's hidden? What's secretive? She's got a Chiron Saturn conjunction in her chart, transiting Chiron on her Saturn. Pisces, it's spilling out all over the place. All over the place. And then we have Jupiter in Virgo, beginning to oppose some of those Piscean planets. It's going to be interesting when the sun gets up to about 20 Leo and starts squaring off on her Neptune. Boy, that's going to be an intense time for her, especially in this progression of events. Now, she's got Mars and Leo, so she's tough. People of Mars and Leo are tough. You know, they have this kind of royal demand and command with Mars and Leo. There can be a lot of ego with Mars and Leo, but these people don't go down easily. Interesting. Where's that Venus? Yeah, Venus is at 22, 21 Virgo. So Chiron is also opposing her natal Venus, which is, remember, Venus in Virgo is all about details, details, details. And what is Bernie Sanders? He's a Virgo. And she's got all this Piscean drama going on opposing Sanders. Wow, this is so fascinating. So fascinating with her and the chart in general. And let's see what else. 13, Libra. We've also had these planets in Leo. Where are they? Yeah, so we have, let me just go over here for a second. Let me put this down. No, I didn't quite go there just yet. Hold on. Okay. So look at this. We have Mercury in Leo at 20. And then we have Venus in Leo at 15. So if we go back into her chart, that Mercury is squaring off against what? Let's see what we got here. It's going to be squaring off against, look at that, Uranus. Mercury-Uranus square. Venus-Uranus square. What did I say about Uranus? Well, it happens like a retrograde motion, the thunderclap, the lightning crash, the catalytic jolt of energy, Mercury, Leo. There's this kind of entitlement with Leo squaring off against Uranus and Scorpio. I mean, it's Neptune. It's not Uranus. My bad. She's got Uranus and Virgo. They're right next to each other at 20 degrees. Oh, you got to be kidding me. Mercury, Leo square, Neptune in Scorpio. There it is. That's it. That is the skeleton key for this whole thing coming out in her chart. And it's exact. And Venus is there as well. And let's not forget the Piscean drama going up against these Virgo planets in her chart. Venus for one. Wow. Chiron return. Big stuff. I wonder what the Sabian symbol for her. Now, I haven't looked at this, so this is all improvisational. So I'm going to get into the Sabian symbols for this one aspect here, which is her Chiron, which is going to be at roughly 24 Pisces. Let's check out Rudyard. I love Rudyard. I love Rudyard's interpretation of the Sabian symbols. So we're looking at her Chiron, which is the wounded healer, Pisces, sacrificial, Bernie Sanders, opposite sign, Virgo. All right, so we're going 20, 24, 25. I think that's what it is. I'll verify. Oh, this is interesting. This is very interesting. I just want to make sure I got it right. Okay, so she's born right here on the 27th of September. So Chiron goes to 2324. All right. Okay, so it says here, on a small island surrounded by the vast expanse of the sea, people are seen living in close interaction. This is what Rudyard says: the need to consciously accept one's own personal limitations in order to concentrate one's energies and to live a centered and fulfilled life. Every individualized person is a small island in the vast ocean of mankind. The ego fulfills a necessary function as it sets boundaries and gives specific character to the consciousness. Within these boundaries, a complex interplay linking and integrating the various aspects of the personal life can operate constructively. In time, these ego boundaries can not only expand, but can become a zone of intense interchange between the inner and the outer, between the individual and the community, between man and the universe. The four-stage symbol tells us that the first duty of any man or woman is to be truly what he or she is as an individual, but this individual has a particular dharma, a place and a function in a vaster whole. The island's inhabitants get subsistence from the sea, and in time learn to navigate the sea and interact with other islanders, and eventually will come to realize their oneness within the whole earth, which includes everything. An appropriate word would be centralization. Now here the centralization is a wound, though, because the wound of the centralization is dealing with the obvious. And in this case, the obvious is control. It's control. Remember, Chiron has two components to it. It is Saturn and it is Uranus. It sits between the two. It sits between the two. So what did Wasserman do in the trials of her Chiron return? This is what happens. You can vacillate between Saturn and Uranus. She was clearly on the Saturnian side of things because she wanted to control the situation along with all of her other Democratic cronies, including Hillary Clinton, by the way, who's clearly in on this. And so they go to the Saturnian side. And who is Sanders in this drama? He's the Uranian component. He is the outsider. So in this Chironic drama, what Wasserman Schultz is doing is she's doubling down on Saturn, the Saturnian side of her Chiron return, right? Because it's on her Saturn. She's got a conjunct in her chart. It's the Chiron return. It's hitting her natal Saturn. Hello. So she's going to be Saturnine. She's going to side with Saturn. She's going to side with the powers that be. She's going to side with the oligarchy. What she really needed to do here is to go Uranian. Uranian. She couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. And what's interesting, too, is her Uranus is in what? Virgo. So she's got this Saturn-Uranus opposition in her chart. And Uranus is clearly Bernie Sanders. Saturn is clearly the status quo, the powers that be. And she got bit. She got bit by WikiLeaks. WikiLeaks is, guess what? Right? It is the internet. It is Uranus. This is what WikiLeaks is, the spirit of Uranus. Every time they have these cables come out, and by the way, it's totally controlled. The Russians are involved with WikiLeaks. And they wanted to lower the boom. Wanted to lower the boom on the DNC and Hillary. And if you look at what Hillary's been saying, she's been decrying the breach of privacy. All these politicians, doesn't matter who they are, doesn't matter if they're Republican or they're Democrats, boy, are they just, in a frenzy about this thing. This is just the lowest of the low, Mitch McConnell. The lowest of the low. People need to pay for this. Hillary Clinton admonishing WikiLeaks. Isn't that interesting? Admonishing them because guess what? Some inside information came out. Couldn't control everything, could she? It's getting good. It is getting really good. Now you're going to have a hornet's nest of Sanders people at that convention starting tomorrow in Philadelphia, where they drew up and signed the Declaration of Independence in the dog days of summer. It's going to be very interesting. The Republican National Convention, was not a lot of drama outside of a speech that some speechwriter wrote for Melania Trump, where he pulled a few lines from Michelle Obama. I mean, who cares? Who cares? Do you really expect a profound speech from Melania 2000? Isn't that her model name, Melania 2000? No, but you got some really good content from Don Jr. and, of course, Ivanka, who is a superwoman. My God. Talk about an alignment of genes. She's beautiful. She's smart. She's funny. She's balanced. She's grounded. She's beautiful. Did I say beautiful already? I'll say it again. She's beautiful. And she knocks it out of the park. At the end of the day, what are we going to remember the Republican convention for? A failed attempt to kind of, hijack the whole thing by Ted Cruz. Cruz not supporting Trump, looking more and more like the weasel that he is. They shouldn't have let him speak. That was a mistake. We'll remember Alex Jones getting into it with Sank from the Young Turks. Alex Jones getting into it with the commies. And Alex Jones got a full-on police escort. Once he got into that stuff with the commies, the police just took him right out of there and took him right to his car. They knew exactly where he was going. It felt so incredibly staged. That's what we're going to remember the Republican National Convention for, that kind of stuff. Milo Yiannopoulos getting banned from Twitter. Who cares? Who cares? Banned from Twitter? Oh, how terrible. Twitter can ban your ass. You ever read the rules? Have you ever read the rules? Twitter does not owe anybody shit. Sorry, pardon my language. It's a private company. There are rules when you sign up for Twitter. I'm not saying that banning them was great. There are people on Twitter who probably deserve to be banned more than he does. But they can do it. And this is where everything is headed, by the way. It's all headed in this direction. Censorship. Political correctness. You ain't seen nothing yet. Okay, why don't we do this? Why don't we take a little bit of a break? A little bit of a tiny break. And we'll get into where we are astrologically right now, what's happening, what's going on out there in the big stars, the big starry sky. And then we'll get into maybe some free readings. Free readings. I hate that term. Live readings. Happening readings. That's what we get into. Okay, let me play a little bit of music. I got to be careful now with the music thing. These are going back up on YouTube, so I've got to play music that I have the rights to. I just can't play fast and loose with the music anymore. I haven't played this in a long time, and I'll play it because guess what? I own it. This is me, Dominatrix, and the track is Sound Vibrations. Here we go. Hey, we're back. Welcome to another edition of 11th House Radio. I'm Robert Phoenix. It's 10:57 here in South Central Texas. That was a track that I did. Boy, that was around 2008, about 8 years ago. Sound Vibrations. Doesn't seem that long ago. So here we are. Before we go back into the flow of the show, I just want to get a mic check here. We're working with a new mic tonight. So I'm going to go back into the chat room and check out some of the feedback here. How do I sound? Do I sound different? Is it coming through loud and clear? Basso profundo? All that stuff. This is a mic that I used to use back in the day, and I was using it incorrectly, which is why I stopped using it. And then my producer, who's helped me out tremendously with my course video, and we're coming up with a really interesting small form video on an astrological hack. Well, he figured out that I had the mic pointing in the wrong direction. So we're busting it out here in its new incarnation. So let me know how it sounds if you guys can do that. And speaking of the astrological course, that's available. You can find that on my website. And anybody that's listening to this broadcast, you can go to my website, and the code is FAR10, FAR10, and you can get a 10% discount on the course. That's 16 hours of astrological knowledge broken down basically from A to Z, soup to nuts. And we're going to have our first webinar in 2 weeks. So we're going to have 12 of these 2-hour webinars where we'll be meeting. And this is just for the people that have signed up and purchased the program. So if you haven't signed up, can't be a part of the webinar. Sorry about that. But if you do sign up, you'll get the 16-hour course. You'll get a astrological chart, and you'll also get about a 25-page natal report, and you'll get entree into the 2-hour webinar meeting once a month. It's going to be the first weekend in August, but after that, every second weekend of every month. Go to my website, check it out, and if you're interested, the code is FAR10. Just follow the links, and you'll get there. It's pretty good value. Okay, why don't we do this? Let's get into the stars. The stars. Today's stars. I'm sounding like Louis Story. Robert, you need Mars. You have Mars in your chart. You must eat meat. If you don't know who Louis Story is, he's the supposed, in his mind, reincarnation of Nostradamus. He's a good astrologer, but I think he's a little off on the Nostradamus thing. One man's opinion. We've got Sun and Leo. Hello, Leo. We're talking about the dog days of summer, rising, Sirius rising, Heliacal rising in the morning sky, our binary brethren. So here we have the sun at 2 degrees. Leo, it's fresh, it's raw, it's real, it's live. I love Leo. You know, Leo's one of those signs where it is unmistakable. People that have Leo in their charts, they're big. They live big, whether it's their ascendant or whether it's the sun sign. You know, they are noted by their lust for life. They are large personalities. They're incredibly insecure at times. Incredibly insecure. For instance, case in point, Barack Obama in Dallas a couple of weeks ago referred to himself 45 times in that speech. Only a Leo would do that, really. A Virgo would never do that. Would never do that. A Sagittarius might refer to God 45 times. Only a Leo would refer to himself 45 times in a 15-minute speech. And by the way, speaking of Leo, have you seen Obama's frequent, and I mean frequent, whenever he gives a speech now, he's referring to the fact that, boy, would he like to spend another 4 years in Washington, D.C. He's trying to be funny about it, but he's not very funny. Starting to get old, because we know what he would love to do, and he might even try to pull something off. Look, there is a long runway now between where we are and the election night on November 8th. Boy, wow, the chart for that night. What a doozy. To Leo, man. Let's get into it. Let's everybody just get into the Leo energy. Let's just open our hearts. You know? Just pull back. Let's just reach in there and just pull back that armature of our flesh. And just, you know, let the sun come in and just beam right into our hearts. Set them on fire. Hearts on fire. This is what Leo's all about. We've got Mercury and Leo, dramatic presentations. People will be speaking dramatically. It's in the third decan now, so guess what? That puts it in Aries decan. So, you know, it can be aggressive. Mercury, you know, when we get past 19 degrees, Mercury, Leo sun can get aggressive. It goes into that Aries decan, and you know, this is when the king gets pissed. This is when the king wants to go to war. And speaking of war, has anybody noticed that we are amassing troops along the Polish-Russian border? That's not a good thing. I don't care how you spin it. It's not a good thing. It's aggressive. I mean, who was it? Somebody, I forget who it was. It was this guy, David Knight. I actually like David Knight. He's on the InfoWars. He's actually fairly sane. Could you imagine if Russia amassed 20,000 troops along the Mexican border? I mean, think about that. I mean, it's kind of what we're doing. It's insane. And then we've got, of course, all these events going on. It's just, these events are a nightmare. They're a nightmare. And the reason they're a nightmare is because they're upping the ante for fear. 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 You know, the fear quotient is going through the roof, whether it's ISIS or whomever in Europe, or ISIS and whoever, or whatever is going on here in the States, cop killers. It's just the ante is just getting up. The volume's getting turned up. And remember, you can't believe everything you see. You can't. How about this guy that was in Munich videotaping the Munich event, and he's in Nice videotaping the Nice event? His name is Gujahar, and he's connected to Mossad. And now we had another event. We had another event in Europe. Austria's had it. Austria's building a wall. They've had it. They're done. They're done. That's problematic for Europe, by the way, because Austria is it's a tiny country. It's incredibly powerful because of the amount of wealth that is concentrated in Austria is significant. So when you have a tiny little country like Austria building a wall so that no refugees can get in, the people that are doling out the human cargo have got to think that they've got an issue on their hands. So people are running around afraid. There's tension. There's pressure. It's building, it's building, it's building. And not all of it is real. I'm just here to tell you that. Not all of it is real. And in fact, ISIS itself, a created entity. And it's the big four. The big four behind ISIS. Yes. You know who they are. Right here. This land is your land. The Whaley Wallers, the Turks, little MI6. There's your ISIS. This is all created. Totally created. And when these events take place, these tragedies, I guarantee you, they're not always who they purport or seem to be. I'm just telling you right now. So we've got this wave of escalated violence and tension and worry. I mean, it could get bad. I'm convinced we could go through a very, very difficult phase. All it takes is one more event, one more significant event here in this country, and we're going to be dealing with some heavy rules and restrictions, aka martial law. So let's get into this Leo energy. This Leo sun energy at 2 degrees, Mercury at Leo 20, Venus in Leo 15. And now let's feel. Let's open our hearts and feel. Let's throw caution to the wind. What do you have to lose? Really? So what? You skin up your knees, you bloody your nose, your heart gets bruised. It is what it is. It's living. It's being alive. Moon is in Aries at 8 degrees, so we've got some nice synergy happening right now. Moon in Aries is a little aggressive. It's you know, people that have Moon in Aries, they know what they want. They do not hesitate. When they want something, they are emotionally motivated to go after it. And God bless them. I think it's great. It is a powerful aspect, right? When it is aligned, everything, even aspects in astrology that are not quote unquote good, if they are in context, they can be very powerful. In context, when they're out of context, if they're challenging, not always great. So we've got this Moon in Aries, 8 degrees, first decan tomorrow. Well, by the time you get up, it's moving into second decan, so it's going into Leo decan. Oh, it's going to be nice. So we have Aries, Moon, and Leo decan on Monday. If you had to go out there and work tomorrow, you've got to get into a 9 to 5 situation. I'll give you a little hint. You ready? Do something nice for the people you work for. Bring donuts. I know they're not healthy. Bring donuts or breakfast tacos or something. Get the week off in a good way, right? Light that fire. Light that fuse. Because all this fire energy is fantastic. We got a grand fire trine going on right now. We've got Saturn at 10 degrees. We've got Venus at 15. They're in trine with each other. By the time we wake up tomorrow, the moon is going to be in trine with Saturn. So we're going to have a moon, Venus, Saturn trine, all fire tomorrow. Boy, that's going to be rocking. We've got a Uranus, Mercury trine. Our minds are going to be on fire. Come on, let's take advantage of this. The wind is at our sails. You know, a lot of times people think it takes something great, something profound, something huge to change the tide, to change the world. It doesn't have to happen that way. If we have 1,000 people all doing one small thing, one thing that might seem insignificant or incongruous, right? That one thing could be adding up with 1,000 other things so they become a force in the world for that moment in time. You never know how you're going to impact people. You just don't know it. You run across somebody and, you know, they're switched on, they're a beacon, and the next thing you know, you're on fire, you're a light, and you're passing the torch. It's like the Olympics, you're passing the torch to another person. You're lighting them up, and they're lighting another person up. We need this. We can't live without it. This is essential now. With all this fire, with all this Leo, come on, let's get some momentum. Let's generate something. In terms of love, all this Leo energy in the air, boy, muy romantico. Let that out of the bag, too. Mercury's going to go into Virgo soon. Now, Mercury and Leo, it's in its fall. It can be over dramatic, maybe lie a little bit, Mercury and Leo. But let's indulge in it. Because when it gets into Virgo, we're all going to be much more serious. We'll all be dissecting everything, right? Let's play a little bit. Let's have some fun. Mars is in Scorpio, 27 degrees. My God. I never thought Mars would get past 24 degrees. I mean, it was on 23, 24 forever. Now it's at 27. It's finally starting to conjunct my ascendant. God, no wonder I feel better. And Mars hanging out in the slums of my 12th house there for a while. The final degrees of my 12th house. It's like a halfway house in there. Come on, Mars, get out of there. So we're going to go into Sagittarius fairly soon. How soon? You ask. Oh, good. You guys are good. Let's find out how soon. I'm going to tell you. It's because you asked. I would have told you anyway. So we're going to go into the 21st century. How does it feel to live in the 21st century? What a weird place, huh? Man. Oh, we haven't seen anything yet. We just have to laugh and kind of roll with this stuff, man. Nor are we without humor. Okay. So I'll do my Lewis story. No, I won't. All right, so Mars is kicking into Sagittarius on the 3rd of August. Boy, I really hope my kid's team goes to California for the Pony World Series. I'll tell you why. He's going to have Mars in his 5th house. He'll kick ass. So we've got Mars at 0 Sag on the 3rd of August. That's going to be really interesting because we've had these months of this pent-up Scorpio energy, retrograding, frustrating, grinding. And here it comes, man. When it's going to hit that 0 Sag, the truth hammer is going to just, it's going to lower the boom. It's very interesting. Very, very interesting. Because Mars, does it catch up to the sun? Not quite. Not quite. Not in Sagittarius. Mars goes into Capricorn at the end of September on the 28th. Oh, hey. Right around Debbie Wasserman Schultz's birthday. And It does not catch. It's going to be. I'll tell you, it's going to be interesting. Is that in October there's going to be a Mars Sun square. Actually, that's going to happen in September. That's going to be an interesting time. That's going to happen. Let's see what we got. Mars goes into Capricorn 05, catches up. Let's see, how close do they get? The closest Mars gets is right there in the 28th. And it's at 0 Capricorn. So it's at its most potent squaring Libra Sun. That's going to be an interesting time. But people are just going to, I swear to God, people have had it. They've had it with the powers that be. You know what's really interesting about this vice presidential pick that Hillary made, by the way? I'm just being a little sort of divergent here. First of all, have you seen that guy's eyes? Tim Kaine's. He's got these slitty little eyes. Like he's got the eyes like a hardened criminal. I swear, I'm sorry. It's just hard to look at that face and not think that there's something diabolical going on behind those eyes. But if you look at his voting record, I mean, this guy is a full-on Wall Streeter. He's a globalist. He hasn't met a trade agreement he hasn't liked. And it's so fascinating because, you know, people would have loved to have had Elizabeth Warren as the running mate. Oh, my God, 2 women. Would never fly, by the way. But at least Elizabeth Warren got her Democratic and progressive bona fides. Tim Kaine he's really just a Republican in disguise. You know, this is the way that the Democratic Party now has evolved through neoliberalism. They align themselves with Wall Street. They align themselves with big business so that they can have bigger government and they can have their social programs at the same time. It's a really strange cocktail, and I don't understand how Democrats can even remotely rally behind this kind of leadership because theoretically, this is not what their party is supposed to stand for. But here's what I think. You see, I think Hillary doesn't care. She doesn't care what I think. She doesn't care what you think. And if you're a Democrat, she certainly doesn't care what you think. So what she really is she's a sadist. She's a sadist. And she's putting this Tim Kaine's guy in because she's basically saying, hey, screw you. Look who I have on my ticket. And you're going to vote for me anyway. You're going to vote for me anyway. It's a sadistic move. And she's pushing her electorate. Anyway, when that Mars hits at 0 Sag on the 3rd of August, that's going to be good. That's going to be a good day. A lot of fire in the sky that day. Got moon in Leo. Got the new moon in Leo. How about that? That's going to be good. New moon in Leo. Conjunct, right? We got the sun, new moon, Leo. The conjunction is going to be on the 4th. So we have the moon in Leo. We have sun in Leo. We have right there at the end on the 4th, the final degrees of Venus in Leo. We've got Mars in Sag. We've got Saturn in Sag. We've got Uranus in Aries. That's a lot of fire. That is a heck of a lot of fire. So people are going to be fired up. Not going to take it anymore. This is really what's happening. People are waking up. We're waking up. You see, because when they continue to force the agenda and to bring out their psyops and their false flags and their synthetic groups that they've created who've now become monsters because they're like dust devils that have picked up debris, human debris and detritus along the way. So now it's become something real. People are seeing this. Now, Trump is kind of a gatekeeper in some ways. It's going to be interesting if he gets elected, and I think it's either going to be Trump now or it's going to be Obama. I think this thing that's happened with the DNC and Wasserman Schultz, and there's more to come. Boy, all Hillary could just say, she couldn't even address the fact that these emails were damning. All she could talk about, or all she could muster forth, was her righteous indignation, and about how these people are going to have to pay for it. Of course, it's going to be, pinned on the Russians. Yet another reason why we should go to war with Russia. That is Zbigniew Brzezinski, by the way. He's behind the eternal hard-on for Russia. He hates Russia. He does. So wanted to go after him for a long time. Where are we? Let's go back to the planets. Man, I got this grand fire trying to happen. I'm fired up. I like it. Jupiter and Virgo, 20 degrees. We've got 10 degrees left of Jupiter and Virgo. I'm going to miss it. It's been pretty good to me, I have to say. But it's going into Libra, and I got all these Libra planets. I'll be all right. I'm looking forward to that, too. It's like a double holiday. It's like a 2-year double holiday for me. So it's in the third decan, puts it in the Taurus decan. And that's when Jupiter is also going to go. We're going to have a Mercury retrograde at the end of August. We'll talk about that. Not tonight, but probably sometime later in the month. 20 degrees, Jupiter, Virgo, wide, sextile to Mars. That's about all it's doing. It's in trine with Pluto, but moving further away from it. Saturn, there we go. Saturn retrograde 10. Sag goes back to 9. And then it stations, and then we move forward again. And we have one more retrograde cycle with Saturn in 2017. And then Uranus, 24, gets up to 25. It, too, will retrograde and go backwards around 20. We'll have Uranus hanging around 20, the better part of a year. So if you've got planets in Aries or Libra or Capricorn or Cancer, and they're around 20 degrees, you're going to have Uranus either squaring or opposing those planets. And you can get some electrification, whatever planet it is in contact with, and you'll have it for the rest of the year, from now until the end of next year. Neptune 11, it's going retrograde. It's going backwards. I think it goes to 8. Pisces. God, Neptune's going to be around for a long time in Pisces. Pluto and Capricorn 15, also retrograde. I believe it goes back to 14. And what do we have here? Looks like we have an inconjunct with Pluto and Venus. This will only last for a couple of days. And the inconjunct is about understanding the nature of what you feel passionate about in relationship and how it relates to kind of what you're doing in the workaday world, your relationship to your work, your relationship to things like corporations and governments. It's an interesting inconjunct. True Node 13, Virgo. What's it doing? It is almost in trine with Pluto and Capricorn. Boy, this would be such a great time, for people to really get their shit together and start learning stuff and start bonding with other people. We're just too isolated. This true node trine Pluto and Capricorn, so much to be done right now. I hope that there are people that are doing that out there, that are really connecting with other people and building their networks and learning and growing and sharing with each other. The maker culture is kind of like that. Chiron 24, Pisces, and that is enshrined with Mars. Right now, that's interesting. Mars has been enshrined with Chiron for a while. It's starting to move away. Sexual healing, that's what that is. All right, it is 11:26 here, Central Standard Time, Austin, Texas. Let's use birthdays. I love looking at birthdays. You can find out who July 25th birthday people are. So we're talking Leos. These are very big personalities, right? Who do we have? Let's see. Down through the seas. Haven't seen anybody. Let's see. Nobody great so far. And I'm over to the eyes already. How about that? Joe Kennedy Jr., Matt LeBlanc. He seems very Leo, doesn't he? He's got that hair. He's always had that hair, that kind of long mane of hair. Matt LeBlanc, his birthday is Monday, tomorrow. Who else? God, not a big birthday day. Maxfield Parrish, the artist. Love his stuff. His birthday's tomorrow. Who else? Anybody else? Kevin Smith, the film director. Evan James Springsteen. Looks like Bruce Springsteen's son. Oh, Nate Thurmond. Man. Tomorrow would have been Nate Thurmond's birthday. He died last week. Nate Thurmond was a center who played for the Golden State Warriors. I used to see him all the time in San Francisco. He had Big Nate's Barbecue, and he used to go to the same taqueria that I went to in the Mission. God rest your soul, Nate. Nate was great. It would have been his birthday tomorrow. He was the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar killer. There was the one guy Kareem Abdul-Jabbar could not dominate, was Nate Thurmond. Who was yesterday's birthday? That was such a, man, it was a lame birthday group. Hold on, what about yesterday? So Sunday. Let's see who we got for Sunday. Hopefully it's a little more interesting, because sometimes I like to pull a chart. Oh, Barry Bonds, of course. Leo Barry Bonds, the home run king, the steroid-induced, enhanced home run king. Who else do we have? Let's see. Bindi Irwin, Steve Irwin's daughter. Who else? Yeah. Not great birthdays these last couple of days. Well, Barry Bonds. Oh, Oscar Ichazo. There's an interesting character. A lot of you may not know who Oscar Ichazo is. But Oscar Ichazo was a spiritual teacher in the vein of Gurdjieff. He was very popular at Esalen in the 1970s and 80s. He played with the Enneagram and all these sorts of mystical systems. And I had a weird period of time where I was dating this woman who was a student of Oscar Ichazo. And then one day I was driving through San Francisco right at the same time, and I saw this guy hauling this massage table up, was it Valencia Street? It might have been Valencia. It was Guerrero. I think it might have been Guerrero in San Francisco. Big hill. And I pulled over and I said, "Hey man, do you want to lift with that?" He's all sweaty. He said, "Yeah, sure." So I drove him back to his apartment, and he said, "I'd really like to give you a massage for doing that." I said, "Really?" He said, "I'd like to give you a massage." So I set up a massage. I got a massage from this guy. And he was a student of Oscar Ichazo. So I was like being kind of bombarded by this Oscar Ichazo group. Let's check out his chart. This day is starting to get a little bit more interesting. It's got an A rating with Lois Roden, so we know that the time is pretty good. It's not pristine double A, but it's pretty good. Born in Bolivia, 1931. Sun in Leo, conjunct Jupiter in Leo, exact in the 12th house. That's an interesting conjunction. This guy has some life force. Trine Moon in Sagittarius, so he was inspirational too. Leo rising, Mercury in Leo, to be a forceful communicator. Trine Uranus, bringing new ideas into the world. Neptune in the first house in Virgo, a little deception with the square to the moon. Not always clear emotionally. There could be some boundary issues there. Mars in Virgo and sextile looks like the sun because it's late degree Mars. Interesting. And sextile the moon. Second house, hard worker. T-square, Uranus, Saturn, Venus. Might have been a bit ahead of his time. Born in Uranus in Aries. This is the run-up to the Third Reich. True node in Aries. Eighth house, kind of a scorpionic character. Very interesting. Midheaven, Taurus, 26 degrees. I think body work played a role in Echazo's mystery school, and this is really what he was. He was kind of a mystery school person. It was really interesting 12th house stuff. Sun, 0 degrees, Leo. And then he's got Jupiter, 1 degree, Leo. And he has Pluto at 20 Cancer and Venus at 18 Cancer. Venus-Pluto conjunction. 12th house. This guy had some power. He had some power. He had some deep pull here with true node in the 8th, Sun conjunct Jupiter. I could see where things could get a little culty around somebody like this. But I don't think it was that. It was something, it was, these people were nice and they weren't under a spell. Oscar Echazo. I'll tell you another interesting birthday for tomorrow. Actually today. Let's see if I can find it here. Hold on. Okay. I'm going to say this name, and I'm going to ask you, does it ring a bell? Elliot Rodger. Elliot Rodger. C rating on the chart. On 23 May 2014, he killed 6 people, wounded 13 others, and committed suicide. Of course, he didn't do those things. He didn't do them. It didn't happen. Isla Vista did not happen. Elliot Rodger is out there somewhere in the world doing something else. Trust me on this. What can we tell from his chart? Let's see. 29 degrees, Leo ascendant. That's Trump's ascendant. Mercury, first house. Where's the line? He's got a Sun-Saturn opposition. Saturn Aquarius, Sun in Leo, separation from the father, which of course he's probably done since he's underground by now. Pluto, Jupiter square, that's not much. Mars, Venus conjunction, trine Moon, Neptune, Uranus. I don't know. This is not a terrible chart, but the Sun-Saturn opposition indicates separation from the father, and likely he is definitely separated from his dad. Okay, why don't we do this? Why don't I take some calls and do some readings? Let me give you the number here, 347-308-8995, 347-308-8995, and run out of my music. So if I don't play my music, I'm afraid they're going to pull this stuff down. I want to play one more of my pieces here. This is kind of a crazy piece. If I can find it. Hold on. What do we got? Okay. Still looking. A little dead air. It's okay. It's dramatic, isn't it? God, I've got all these readings. I have done so many readings for so many people. When I do this is kind of funny. This is a track I made with my kid. Oh, no. And it's him at about 4 years old rapping about Mario over this little piece of music I did. It's only 2 minutes and 38 seconds. It's called Mario Rap. So here's how that's supposed to work. I play music and you call in. You don't call in and then hang up while I'm playing the music. You're just supposed to wait till the music is over so I can click on the icon so I can bring you on the air so I can do a live reading with you. That's how it works, okay? So I'm going to give you the number again, 347-308-8995, 347-308-8995, and you can give me a call, and we've got about 20 minutes left. I'd be happy to do a live reading with one of you in the interim. Let me see what else is happening. There was another thing I wanted to talk about. Let me see if I can connect it back up to astrology. Let's see what we got here. Let me get into my news source here. My worlds are colliding. What was it? So we talked about the wall that Austria is building. And there's this whole thing around like gender confusion. And this Munich shooter, whoever this Munich shooter was, right, whatever, posed as a woman on Facebook, which is very, very strange. Extremely strange. And when we get into a planet like Saturn in Sagittarius, which is around for a long time, almost 3 years, right? Saturn in Sagittarius. What is the opposite sign of Sagittarius? It's Gemini, right? And what do we get into when we talk about Gemini? You get into duality. We get into this kind of multi-phase of identity with Gemini. And Saturn will hit up against and trigger these Gemini memes and themes and archetypes into our society. I mean, we're already dealing with Uranus and Aries, which is flipping everything around and upside down in terms of, male energy and what it is to be a man and all that stuff. But the Saturn opposition to Gemini is also kind of putting pressure on the Gemini system. And what happened recently in North Carolina, in fact, it was just over the weekend, is that the NBA took the All-Star game away from Charlotte because North Carolina decided that they didn't want to play with the bathroom laws that were being imposed by the federal government. And so they just said, no, we've got our own version of this, and businesses are leaving North Carolina. They're punishing North Carolina for an extremely small segment of the population. Extremely, extremely small, and without understanding or uncovering the risk of what it would be like for somebody who is not trying to work out their interphase sex identity, but is actually taking advantage of the fact that these laws are lax, and it puts them in an environment where there's really scary people in places where they shouldn't be with kids. And so this is what North Carolina has just said, no, we're not going to do this. And they're being punished. So the NBA has pulled the the All-Star game away from North Carolina as a result of this. You know, what's really interesting is also we're going through this kind of unisex phase. I don't know if you've been noticing this. So it's very strange. It's like a fashion statement in some ways. And the whole unisex culture is being pushed now through fashion. So it's clothing that doesn't reveal whether or not you're a man or a woman. And it's like baggy pants and bulky shirts, and it's just so weird. I mean, you know, people have wonderful forms. The male form is beautiful. You know, the female form is beautiful. And now we're morphing into this kind of, you know, masticated sort of, you know, gray identity, just chewed up and sort of, you know, pre-digested identity, and just stick people in baggy clothes. And it's apparently cool. I don't know. It's just bizarre. This is where I am a dinosaur. I'm sorry. I'm a pterodactyl. I'm a pterodactyl when it comes to this stuff. But I see the programming. It's all there. There's fashion, the fashion world. They're supporting it. News supports it. News supports fashion. Fashion shows up in TV shows. You know, TV shows, MTV, magazines. It's all part of one sophisticated, dark neural net that is there to coerce you into thinking you actually have free will, choice, and identity, where really all you are is just a programmed robot. Okay, let's check the lines. Maybe somebody has decided to call in and wants a reading. I got a few people. Who's been waiting the longest? Hey, thanks for calling the show. You're on the air. Who are you and where are you calling from? Hello?
Oh, hi, Robert. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's me.
Oh, hi. Okay. It's Deborah. I wasn't sure which one you picked up. So just wondering what's in store for me for the rest of the year.
Fame, fortune, and freedom. How's that?
Sounds wonderful. July 12, 1953.
Okay, hold on one second.
8:05. Okay.
Let me get to you. July 12th. Here we go. All right. Go. How are you tonight, Deborah?
Sorry, you're cut out there, Robert. What was that?
How are you tonight?
I'm good. How about yourself? You sound good.
Yeah, I'm good. I've had a good day. Bought a cowboy hat today.
Yeah, I saw that. It looks good.
Yeah. What time, Deborah?
8:05 a.m. in Vancouver, Canada.
Love that place. Beautiful place.
Yeah.
Whenever I used to live in Seattle. Whenever I would drive across the border, it felt like I could breathe. It was an amazing experience. Amazing.
You know, it's funny you say that, because when I crossed into the USA, I always felt like there was a black cloud over me.
It's a trip, isn't it? It's just I mean, the border is artificial and everything, right? But there's something about the energy that just shifts, and it's really prominent. And I'd always get kind of sad when I would leave. It's like, oh man, I really like it up here. Okay, I got you here. You're July 12th, right? 53?
Yep.
Okay, 8:05 a.m. Well, this should be so right now, you know, where you've got Mercury is right on your ascendant conjunct your Pluto. So, boy, if you ever needed to get anything off your chest, and this is going to happen right around this time every year, right? Because you're always going to have Mercury and Leo coming around. And right around this time of year, every year, you're going to have that Mercury conjunct your ascendant, and you're going to conjunct your Pluto. So a good time to sort of blow the pipes, and deal with your Pluto, because let's face it, living with Pluto on the ascendant, that is not an easy gig, because life is very intense. And over a period of time, what you've done, you get to master Pluto. It's a lot of energy and a lot of power and a lot of responsibility ultimately to live with Pluto on the ascendant. It is, when you came in here and you got as close to what you wanted to get, and that became your ascendant or on your ascendant, you really chose kind of, a master's class in dealing with intensity, at times tragedy, loss, power, feeling as though your life could come unraveled at any moment. That's because that's the nature of Pluto. Wherever it shows up on a cardinal point, you just and I've experienced this. When I moved from California to Austin, I had Pluto move to my ascendant when I got here, and I've had at least 10 times over the last 4 years where either metaphorically or even physically I thought I was going to die, and then it all comes together, and you're living in a constant cycle of death and rebirth with Pluto on your ascendant, truly the phoenix. Now Mercury comes around and hits your Pluto. It's a good time to deal with that intensity. So you can deal with it in a couple different ways. Number one, you can go on full blast and try to address whatever it is you need to address, get whatever you need to get out, especially from the heart area. But you've also got Neptune in your charts in Libra, and that's at 21 degrees. So Venus, Mercury, it's all kind of there right now. I think Venus is there right now, and then Mercury's coming up. It's 15 degrees, so it's right behind it. You have the potential with Mercury coming, even with Venus. I love it when they cooperate with Neptune, because Neptune softens everything. Neptune brings this, kind of a sense of compassion and deeper flow. So with these two planets coming in and hitting your ascendant, hitting that intense Pluto, they're also coming in sextiling Neptune, which can temper it a lot. Now, that can be very creative. So these transits don't last very long, but you can start creative projects right around this time of year every year, because you're giving birth to something on the ascendant with the Leo sun. And then you can go through a whole year cycle with whatever it is you start right around this time. Now, you're born with the moon in Leo, right? So you have the Leo moon, and we've got a full moon coming up, new moon coming up in Leo. So you're going to have the new moon on your moon on Mercury in Leo. So the moon-Mercury conjunction, very interesting. 12th house, bit of psychic ability there, especially if you keep your heart open. You are very intuitive. So with the new moon, again, there's this potential for, kind of cracking your heart open, feeling deeper. There's no real intense kind of squares. In fact, you've only got one square in your chart, but it's kind of a doozy. It's that Sun-Neptune, Sun-Saturn square, and I think Mars might even be in on that action as well. Yeah, Mars square Saturn. So you got these two planets in your chart plus Uranus, which are very watery, squaring off against Neptune, Saturn. So even though you've only got those one kind of angles of squares, they can be fairly intense. Do you write? Are you a writer at all? Do you dabble in that?
Actually, more to the painting.
Painting. Okay, so visuals. So with Leo, and again with Mercury, Venus on the ascendant, you've got this new moon coming up. I don't know. I would get creative, and if painting is your thing, if nonverbal is your thing, it's a good time. Now you're going to have Jupiter. Jupiter is getting ready to go out of your second house, so it's leaving the second house, leaving Virgo. Generally, that can be a time where your finances are bolstered a little bit. When Jupiter goes through the second house, but it's in Virgo. It's not always that expansive in Virgo, but it can be if it's done in the right area, if it's engaged in some form of service or healing. People can give you things, barter, trade, money for whatever. That cycle is coming to an end. And in September, Jupiter moves into your third house in Libra. And I like this transit for you because you've got your Venus at 5 degrees Gemini, and you've got your Jupiter also in the sign of Gemini, and that's at 14 degrees. So for the first couple months here, from September through the end of October, early part of November, you're going to have a Jupiter trine Venus. That's generally a period and phase where things go easy. It's like you make the right connections, you meet the right people, especially in the third house with the world around you. You can expand, you can make more connections. If you're doing the art thing, you may meet up with people that might be really into what you're doing. They may want to collaborate with you. It's a nice phase, nice cycle. The Jupiter trine brings you plenty of opportunities to network and to exchange ideas because you've got that Jupiter in Gemini up in the 11th house. So it'll be an intellectually and culturally stimulating year for you. You're going to have Jupiter on your Saturn and Jupiter on your Neptune. That's nice, because it'll soften up that Saturn. And Saturn in Libras, it's fine. It's the squares to Sun, Uranus, Mars that can be tough, especially when it comes to relationship and siblings. You've got all that sensitivity, all that Cancerian sensitivity. And, Neptune, Saturn conjunction in the third house almost forces you to mediate. It almost it's like, okay, I'm going to do this. I don't really want to, but I'm going to. It's like you have like karma around mediation, around your inner family and even in relationships. But what's funny about this is that your Cancerian Sun and Mars and Uranus, they don't really want to be involved in it, because it's not really kind of what you're wired for. You're much more intuitive and, creative and different. But it's almost like you've got this karmic agreement for mediation that you have to step into. This Jupiter conjunction on Saturn, Neptune, I think kind of takes some of the pressure off of you. And if there's anybody else that can step into the role of that form of mediation, then you can step out of it at that time. Now, from a creative perspective, this is interesting because I think you're going to have to deal with a deadline. I think you're going to have to deal with a deadline. It's going to be sometime in November, like late November. And it could be good for you to have that deadline, though. Because, again, the trine to Venus and trine to Jupiter, your profile could really expand out into the world with Venus in the 10th house and Jupiter in the 11th. So don't be afraid of deadlines. Don't be afraid of hard work. But don't let this karmic thing to have to mediate get in the way, because you're going to be in a big-time creative flow. So try to focus on that. Let somebody else play referee. Get out of the middle, okay?
Cool. Yeah. Sounds good, Robert. How about health?
You've got your true node in the 6th house in Aquarius. And let's see, where's Pluto? You got your Sun at 19. But you're coming up on this Sun-Pluto opposition. That's always an intense opposition, Sun-Pluto. Especially when Pluto is just going to be, let's see, where's your Sun? Yeah, it's just coming into kind of leaving the 5th house and going into the 6th house. One of the things that I would, first of all, I don't think you don't strike me as a person that would do a lot of X-rays, but don't do any X-rays. But at the same time, you get into that structure with the bones and stuff with Pluto and Capricorn, 6th house. So work on your skeletal structure, work on all your skeletal structure, but also pay close attention to your, some of the, Cancerian organs like your kidneys. Pay attention to them. Pay attention to your pancreas, and to some extent even your ovaries. When you've got this Pluto-Sun opposition,
60 seconds.
You want to stay clear. You want to stay fluid. Just make sure you're taking the right amounts of whatever it is you need to take. Whether it's black cohosh or whatever those things are. You want to keep flushing, keep circulating, and work on your skeletal structure. Do a little light weightlifting. Don't go intense, because when you get that Pluto into the 6th house, you're dealing with your health. You're dealing with Capricorn. You're dealing with bones. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
I really enjoyed what you said, and I hope things go really well for you guys with this election in the fall.
Well, it's going to be a real trip, and
you're not kidding.
You've got a seat in the bleachers. We're sitting here at home plate.
10 seconds.
Well, thanks for calling in,
I've got
Deborah.
a lot of. Yeah. Thank you very much, Robert. You be well, and all the best. Thank you.
You take care. Okay. Good night.
Good night, hon. Bye-bye.
It's our friend Deborah. Unfortunately, we've reached the end of the show. I apologize. If you're listening to me now, you're listening to me on the postcast, not the podcast, but the postcast. So if you want a reading, come to my website, robertphoenix.com. I'll be back again next Sunday. If you want a 5-minute deal, we'll tee it up. But if you want a solid, intense, thorough reading, robertphoenix.com. If you're listening to me now on this show, which you're not, but you'll hear it on YouTube. Hear this on YouTube. Hear this on the replay. And some of you will. I've just raised my rates. But you have to tell me though, you have to tell me you heard it on my show. It's only going to last this week. I will roll back to my last rate, which is $125 for an hour session. Only going to last a week. Okay? Send me an email. Connect with my site. All right. You know the drill. Use your head to discern what's real, your heart to stay open to what's possible. Here is Philip K. Dick. I'll see you guys on Friday.
We are living in a computer-programmed reality, and the only clue we have to it is when some variable is changed and some alteration in our reality occurs. We would have the overwhelming impression that we were reliving the present, déjà vu, perhaps in precisely the same way, hearing the same words, saying the same words. I submit that these impressions are valid and significant, and I will even say this: such an impression is a clue that at some past time point a variable was changed, reprogrammed as it were, and that because of this an alternative world branched off.